The W-class trams are the oldest trams we've got running in Melbourne. When you drive the Ws, it's almost like being transplanted in history. You're driving something from the 1930s or 40s, and yet it's along a 1990s street, and you're taking passengers from the 1990s along with it. It's just really nice to get into the cabin and drive your tram, especially Ws, cutting up through the notches. There's nothing else like it. It's completely different from any other vehicle I've driven.
36 stable driver, 36 stable driver is in the building. Would you ring the 9 at place?
On the trams, you'll find all sorts of people. I'd be hard pushed to find one particular type of person that works on the trams. I think that's the beauty of it, the fact that there's so many different sorts of people from all walks and all nationalities. Here at South Melbourne, we've got over 30 nationalities.
Thanks, mate. All right, 3 sets of keys.
Conductors are an amazingly entertaining bunch.
Now, have you ever seen a conductor juggle some keys?
To make public transport more accessible, you have to have conductors there.
Could you buy me some flowers? Oh, they're lovely. They can
Without their wealth of information about the lines, about where to get off, the best place to go, often our conductors advise people to get off at Ackland Street if they're going to St Kilda and tell them about every second shop is a cake shop. Here's Luna Park, you get off here.
This is Brunswick Street, Fitzroy, the Ioneer Hospital and St Vincent's Hospitals. You may change here for tram numbers 911 to West Preston and Northcote via St George's Road.
We've got conductors who sing, conductors who tell stories. People know Melbourne's conductors. We're famous for our conductors. The way conductors wear their uniform is that they have to make it adjustable for themselves. If they feel comfortable, then they feel like they're doing a good job.
They've got personality, they've got soul. You can see a face in a tram, you can feel warmth in a tram. You get inside a well-lit tram at night and there's just something that speaks personality, something there's not there in a bus, there's certainly not there in a car. I can't understand these petrol heads being interested in cars. But the tram's got soul, they're big friendly things and they just lumber along and they're user-friendly, people-friendly. My parents bought me a what was known then as a tin boomer tram, and I used to play with that out in the front yard, and I left it on the fence one day and it went. After that, I tried to get everybody I knew to find a replacement for it, which I never did. Whenever we'd go into town, sitting low in the car, the old 1927 Serrano, I used to see these poles going around the overhead wire, and I was fascinated. I guess that's what got me hooked. When I build a model, it's built from the ground up. I do lost wax brass casting to make the bogies, side frames. Also the equipment in the cabin, which is exactly the same as in the real tram. There's the controllers, brake valves, even down to the little motorman in there. Everything in there is exactly what was on the real one. There's seats in there, people in there. All the destination signs and the ads on the tram are all, I sign right the lot. And on this particular car, you can even change the destination sign by pulling it out, like so.
Driving trams is different from playing around with trams and making models of them. It's a job, and much as I can enjoy the tram buff side of it, it is a responsible job and it has to be taken seriously. We came over from New Zealand because I'd had this childhood ambition of driving trams, and there were no trams left in New Zealand to drive, so after a holiday here and seeing that we both liked the place, we decided to move over, and I'd have the opportunity to fulfil that childhood ambition.
When I came over here to Australia with Ian, I just said as I walked out the door, well, if I can't get a job, I'll join Ian on the trams. I found myself sitting on trams thinking, there's no way I'll go up and down these trams asking for fares. I'm not going to do this. This is not me. Until finally I thought, who am I arguing against? I also said I wasn't going to drive, but I finished up deciding I wanted to drive, and we trained as drivers together.
My current occupation is tram driver. On my days off, I come up here to my tram line in the bush at Tilland Vale, which was built by myself and a friend. But some years ago, about 3 years exact, we decided to leave our jobs in Sydney and come to Melbourne to become tram drivers. So when we did, we brought our model trams with us. I was born at a place called Bondi in Sydney, probably very famous for the Bondi tram. All I know is I love trams ever since I can remember. We actually lived on a bus route, not on a tram line, but my mother knew about my love of trams, so instead of taking me direct to the city by bus, we always caught the tram to Kailua Street. We caught the Bellevue Hill tram into the city, which is my favourite line. Unfortunately, it was closed back in 1958, so it's been a long time since I've had one of my favourite rides.
Particular people. I always think of Gunsells as really, really loving trams. I mean, I have to do it for a living, so to sort of say I'm a Gunsel, I'm not really. I only know little bits and pieces, as much as I need to know for my job, I think.
Someone who goes over the top is, I know some of my stuff might look like they're over the top, but I know when to divorce myself from the hobby and when to come back into reality.
To me, a Gunsel is a tram buff.
It seems to me a Gunsel's a person who would go out and work on trams for nothing, who would actually pay the Met for the privilege. And to me, that's what a Gunsel is.
Every time she would go to the market, she'd come home with zucchinis, lettuce, armloads of green apples, tomatoes, kiwi fruit, never an orange in sight. When her sister went to Ireland, she was green with envy and consoled herself with bowls of pistachio ice cream. Her hair was fresh and shiny and smelt of green apples. One day, her housemate came home and found she'd painted the whole kitchen tramways green. Her fern and her maidenhair were thriving. Her daffodils didn't come up. Her favourite song was the green, green grass of home. Her kitchen was filled with environmentally sound products. And eventually, Kermit went to that very green place in the sky, Tasmania, where she lives to this very day.
I'm a bit of a bowerbird. I like collecting things. I've collected all kinds of paraphernalia of trams, bits and pieces, brake valves, controllers, conductors' bells, destination signs, you name it, I've collected it. The tram that's out in the yard was the first tram I ever had a drive of when I was about 15 years old. And little did I know at the time that I'd end up owning the damn thing. I had severe doubts about my sanity when I saw it being lifted over the house on the crane. That's the way. When my family think of my hobby, they think I'm a bit strange, I guess. But it keeps me off the streets, keeps me out of the pubs.
When he gets a bee in his bonnet and there's something that he wants to make or something he wants to do on the layout, that's all he can focus on. And whether the kids are destroying the place or doing something, he finds it hard to let go of his idea. So in that way, when he's obsessed by an idea, it can be a bit of a pain. You sort of got to give him a shake and say, excuse me, there's other things going on. Life still keeps going on.
In making a model, I'm recreating something in miniature with all the detail, and I try to make it look as lifelike as possible. Now it's got an added thing, particularly because a lot of the models I'm making of trams and buses are ones that are no longer here in reality. I'm recreating a little bit of history. We also, of course, have started making earrings, tram earrings, and it's something we do together because it's partly jewellery, partly models, I suppose.
Ian makes the mould and I paint them. Every time I see an old W-class tram coming towards me now, I think, oh, there are my earrings.
Trams have always been something that have fascinated me, and I can't really say why. Buses are almost as interesting, but there's just something different and special, whether it's because they're on rails, that has a fascination, sort of a mystique about it. It probably is. This is a model of a 1933 Auckland tram, which was one of the most common types in use right through to the very end. But unfortunately none were preserved, so this was one that I decided to model. It took me 10 years to make it, off and on. It's complete now, except that I'm going to finish motorising it, so hopefully it will be able to run one day. It's got lights. There's a tram that I really imagined I would drive one day, and even though I perhaps can't drive it in reality, I'll be able to drive it on the model. Hopefully I'll have a layout one day to run it on.
Well, as soon as I saw it, I thought, you know, this is for me. This is exactly what I want. I want trams you can ride on. So I built my tram then, and we haven't looked back since. Our trams have been on exhibition at model railway shows and at fetes and agriculture shows for years, and then it's time to come and work the real ones. Yes, I'm a gunsmith. I'd be quite happy to drive trams around the streets for nothing. I don't care what shifts I do, I just enjoy doing what I do. I don't care if they're high paying, low paying, I just like doing them all so I can do every facet of the work.
Well, basically we bought the tram because we'd just purchased this piece of land and wanted to have somewhere to stay up here. We'd been staying in a goat shed up on the hill. It was very cold and uncomfortable. A number of alterations have been made to the tram. Practical things like insulation. We ripped out some of the seats, the long seats in one end, put in a bed. But probably the best alteration has been the veranda at the front, which has increased the living space. I must say I had a lot of fond memories of trams from my childhood. They're friendly, they're happy. They've got a little face at the front, you know, with the lights. It's like eyes and a smile. I don't know if I'm a gunzel, but certainly W class is how I'd think of myself. I don't know if I ever dream about trams. I suppose I dream about this particular tram, particularly when I'm in Melbourne and I wish I was up here. But I can't say that my dreams are full of trams coming and going. It's getting colder and colder. She looks at her watch. 3 a.m. And once again, the sound. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, ee-yaw, ee-yaw, ee-yaw. The cops. They get on the loudhailer. Get out of the tram. Walk towards us. And whatever you do, don't look back. She jumps up, runs out of the tram as fast as she can. Oh no, her foot is caught in the tram tracks. She gets up, and as she gets up, she turns. And on the top of the tram, she sees the tram driver's head in the hands of the axe murderer. And once again, the sound. Bang, bang, bang. Ah!
This job, I guess if you're going to enter it and stay for a long-term position, boy, I think you're going to need all the help you can get.
The only way to go.
Hey, I got one of those.